all the time. Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
All right, Razorback fans, I know that there is so much to be talking about when we're just 84 days away from Razorback football. Be here before you know it. Hunter Henry days away, which if you haven't followed us on social media at Natty State Sports, we've been tweeting out, posting on Instagram, all that of our countdown to the kickoff with some highlights, which have been really fun, but also gives you some ideas of the golden days. But either way, football will be here before you know it. I mean, SEC Media Days is in mid-July, and I thought it was really fascinating to see a particular stat from Pro Football Focus. Now, Arkansas in the offense and Bobby Petrino is really what has been the focus of all of this, and rightfully so. I mean, that's what's bringing in a lot of the pomp and excitement if you're ever trying to find anything, because who would have guessed Bobby Petrino would return as head coach? And the fact that you were able to return all the wide receivers, which I don't care what anybody says, that is a good thing. You have a great, up-and-coming, big-time tight end in Luke Hasz. Ty Washington ain't too bad either. The offensive line's improved, and you got a quarterback in Taylon Green that seems prime and fit for a Bobby Petrino-type system. But almost to a fault, and this is something that's even on me, the defense has not been talked about. Not much at all. And if it ever has been talked about, it's been, oh, well, they don't have any of the linebackers from last year. It's a problem. We don't know what it's going to look like. And it's almost a little bit, I'll take blame for it. Defense is important. The last time I checked, it's always been a very important thing when it comes to being successful in college football. But Pro Football Focus, they put out a bunch of grades and, they put out some things. And they had this post, which I thought was extremely fascinating, talking about the highest graded returning defensive lineman in the country. Right here. Or I should say edge rushers, not defensive linemen. It's very got to be specific. Right there at the top, Anton Junkaj, 91.6. He's almost a full point ahead of James Pierce Jr., who's at Tennessee. He is, as of right now, according to Pro Football Focus, the highest graded edge rusher who's returning this year in the country. Not Landon Jackson. In fact, if you continue to go down on that list, this is in the SEC. If you continue to go down on that list, Landon Jackson's actually pretty low, all things considered. I mean, you're talking about a bunch of great players on there, but seeing Landon Jackson at a 75.7, no, man, that's a little surprising. As surprising as that is, though, seeing Anton Junkaj on there, I'm like, whoa. How is that possible? I mean, you're telling me, because if you look at that list again, the only other team that has multiple edge rushers as the highest graded edge rushers in the SEC on this list is Oklahoma, with Caden Willard and Ethan Downs. That's it. Arkansas has two of the highest graded edge rushers in the SEC. Now, we know about Landon Jackson. Landon Jackson still is surprising to me that he even returned this season. I thought that he was going to be a surefire going to the NFL draft. I don't know how high he would have been drafted. Maybe that's something that he thought about, maybe discussed and didn't want to, felt like his grade may have been too low, whatever it may have been. But he decided to return to Arkansas, which was very surprising, but a very good thing. I mean, last time I checked, anytime you can have a great defensive lineman coming back, it's always a very good thing. And odds are he will be a preseason All-SEC player. I don't know about first team, but he will be a second-team All-SEC player and possibly will be getting a lot of praise. He'll probably be down at SEC Media Days. He went down to SEC Media Days last year with Sam Pittman. So I would assume that he's probably going to be doing it once again. And it's crazy because he's a transfer out of LSU. I remember talking to some people down at LSU when he was coming in back in the I guess he came in the 2022 season was his first year. They were just like, well, he's just really raw, whatever. He might be good for y'all. He just wasn't good for us. So I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of motivation for Landon Jackson. I think he's going to be great. But for those of you who are looking at that name and you're like, who in the crap is Anton Junkaj? Like, I have never even heard of that person. In fact, I sent it to a couple of friends of mine, and they're like, I haven't even heard of that person before. Who is he? Well, let's find out, shall we? Okay, he's a transfer from Albany. He played in all 15 games for Albany, and they won the Coastal Athletic Association title and made it to the FCS semifinals while earning first-team All-American honors from the Associated Press after leading all of FCS with 15 sacks and finished third in 21.5 tackles for loss as part of his season total 55 tackles. He had 4 of them solo. And it also went to go with 12 quarterback hurries, 5 forced fumbles, and 3 pass breakups. He recorded at least 1 sack in 10 of 15 games and multiple sacks in 3 different games. So I'd say that's pretty good. Now, some of you are going to be looking at it and be like, okay, it's Albany. Okay, it's the Coastal Athletic Association, whatever that is. What does that matter? Oh, great, he took on a bunch of scrubs. This is the SEC. This is a little bit different. Okay, but just keep this in mind. If you don't want to think about anything else, just keep this in mind. First off, there's a lot of players that end up being really great from small schools. If you need to check out that, just go and look at the NFL and see some great players, iconic players, legendary players, all-star players, Pro Bowl players, whatever. A lot of them come from very small schools. I know that the bigger schools will have a lot more players maybe on rosters and everything, but some really great players came from very small schools. So that's first. But if you want to have another correlation, or at least an example of what that can mean, do you guys remember John Ridgway? Played at Arkansas back in 2021. I do. He was a guy that came from a very, very small school in Illinois. Nobody really thought about when he came in. I mean, they were being told by scouts and everybody that he's a really good pickup and a good player, but it's like, okay, yeah, he played at, these FCS or FD1, D2, D3, whatever it was. Yeah, he didn't play. What? It didn't matter because the guy was a monster. In fact, on that year when the defensive line, they were having to run 3-4 because they had no depth at the defensive line position, which ended up costing them in some games. Ridgway was really the biggest factor of them all, and he was a monster. That's why he played in the NFL. And he came and transferred in for his final year from a small school where he dominated. Anton Junkaj has done the same thing. He's 6'3", 275 pounds. This is his final year. He is from Port Jervis, New York, and he did go to Minnesink High School while also playing at Albany. So yes, he came from a very small school, but he also has been highly graded and highly regarded. It's a big pickup for Arkansas. And so I know that Anton Junkaj is somebody that they're excited about producing and excited about getting him on the field. But to see him get the Pro Football Focus high grade, which some of you can look at and say, what do they know? Anything. True. But I at least respect him enough to where they have a decent idea of I know what I'm talking about. And last time I checked too, the SEC is a really good conference in football. This just in. So to be able to be one of the best and highest graded players at any position in this conference means that you are one of the best and highest graded players at that position in the country. Plain and simple. So this is an exciting thing. This is a good thing. You have 2 edge rushers who are going to be playing this year, who are going to be returning as some of the highest graded players in the country. Now, you want to be good at every position. Of course you do. It's a very important thing. But I don't want to make the comparison. I don't want to put the pressure on them, pardon the pun, of living up to this expectation of these particular players or this particular year. But I always revert back to one particular season when Arkansas had 2 phenomenal edge rushers. And that was in 2014. Now, those of you who remember 2014, Arkansas finished 7-6. They went 2-6 in conference play. They shut out LSU and Ole Miss in back-to-back weeks. And it seemed like they were going to have a lot of great things going for Brett Bielema after year 2. And the problem with that season was not the defense. In fact, it could not be more opposite. That defense was about as good, if not the greatest defense Arkansas has ever had, at least in the past 20 years. And the reason being is because you had some pros, you had some depth, you had some experienced players. But the biggest reason is because you had a guy named Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers was an absolute animal. And if you don't remember, go back and watch his highlights, folks. Especially that Ole Miss game when Arkansas beat them 30-0. That particular game, they had guys triple teaming him, and they still could not stop him. Alabama had to do the same thing. He was just unstoppable that year. And on the other side, they had a guy named Dietrich Wise, a little bit of younger Dietrich Wise, but a really good Dietrich Wise. I believe he's still playing in the NFL and doing really good and being a starter. Those 2 guys were on the defensive end. Now, also, you benefited from having a Darius Philon, no doubt, in the defensive tackle position. Martrell Spate was really good too. But if you look at the secondary, it was all right. If you look at the linebackers besides Martrell Spate, it was fine. And I even think that Martrell Spate benefited a lot from having that defensive line. Because, the old cliche is it always starts with the guys up front, starts in the trenches. It's cliche, but it's so true because it makes up for so much. So much. Folks, it's the same thing on offense as it is on defense. If you have an elite defensive line, a next level defensive line, a defensive line that everybody you go up against, you're going to be a handful, and you at least have at least one player that has to be double teamed because of how good he is, that's going to win you games. Because when you have that great defensive line, you're going to change the offensive game plan that the other team is having. If you have edge rushers that is getting to the quarterback consistently, they're going to have to get rid of the ball quick. They're going to have to make decisions quick. Some quarterbacks are really good at that. Some quarterbacks may be good at improvising. Other ones are going to make mistakes because they go through a rush. They end up, hurrying it up and throwing a pick, causing it to hold on to the ball too long where they either get sacked, maybe a strip fumble, whatever. All of that ends up impacting the offensive strategy and the game plan and the play itself over time. And then if the game goes on, if they're still having problems with that, then they have to make adjustments. There is nothing better in football from a strength perspective to be able to have a side of the football that makes the other side and the other team change what they do best. Because what they do best ain't working. So we have to adjust. And that's kind of what that could be the case for Arkansas this year when you have two edge rushers that are this good. Now, Anton Junkaj, we didn't see a whole lot of them during the spring. And who knows, in fall camp, will he be somebody that starts? Is he going to be somebody that comes in late? Is it going to take him a little bit to get going and try to figure some things out? Maybe so. But there's no doubt that the potential is there. And with somebody like Pro Football Focus, who's put this list together, they think so highly of him and their formulas and their research. Last time I checked, they don't have a bias towards Arkansas football. But to be able to have a guy at that high of a peak in the SEC at the edge rusher position, that is a game changer. And if he can just live up to most of that hype and live up to most of that grading, and Landon Jackson can do his thing once again, folks, there's no reason why Arkansas can't be an improved or at least just as good as they were last year defense. Now, we're going to see what the linebackers have to do. That's big. I think the secondary will be fine. You're returning some key pieces from last year. I know that Snacks Johnson hinted into the transfer portal, but I think Nico Slaughter from Tennessee, he took his position, and I think that there's a reason why. So I think the defensive backs are going to be solid, or at least just as good as they were last year. And I think the D-line, honestly, they got to get the depth there and see how the guys inside, because I know they got guys like Cam Ball coming back who's big. It's amazing some of the other players that are still around. But if they can get this out of these two edge rushers, the Arkansas defense is going to be really good. It's going to be in really, really, really good shape. And we'll talk about some of the other aspects of that defense and one of the other reasons why I think it'll be really good here in just a second. But folks, I got to tell you about our friends over at BroThrow, BroThrow.com/Natty. We know that the NBA Finals starting up tonight, right? It's the Celtics, which I'm happy about, and the Mavericks. And if you go to BroThrow.com/Natty, you can get the betting on it right now, going up against your friends in a different community where the Celtics are favored by 6.5 points, according to BroThrow. Now, for those of you who may still be like, okay, well, what is BroThrow? Folks, it's so much fun to do because you save money on all the juice savings because BroThrow.com, they don't do any of that. They don't take any of that. You go into a game and you see a matchup and you're going up against a guy named Matt. You see Matt, Matt's betting $25 tonight, 6.5 for the Mavericks to cover. And you're like, well, man, I think the Celtics are going to blow them out. So what you do is you go in and you bet $25 for minus 6.5 for the Celtics, and you go head-to-head against Matt. And when you go head-to-head against Matt, when the game transpires, guess what? Sends you a notification saying, hey, you won. The Celtics blew out the Mavericks, and you win $25 from Matt. So Matt has to pay you in a very easy way using Venmo or Cash App by settling up, and it sends it right to your account on Venmo or Cash App. It's simple. It's that easy. It's a great web app that you need to check out today. It makes it so much fun, especially when you're betting against real people, and you can join the Natty State sports community that's ever growing. You can bet against each other here in the Natty State sports community. So check it out today at BroThrow.com/Natty. That's BroThrow.com/Natty. You can use code Natty. It's free to sign up. You must be 21 years or older, and there's no VIG, pays even money. It's all because of BroThrow.com/Natty, official partner of Natty State Sports. Okay, so the defense we continue to talk about. And I was somebody that was skeptical during the spring practices of watching the defense because I guess the focus was so much on Petrino and the offense. And anything that's new, there's always going to be energy. There's always going to be attention being paid to it. And when you add somebody like Petrino, that settles it for as it is. But then you have a new quarterback in Taylon Green. Because if you think about this, folks, this is the first time that Arkansas has had a new quarterback that we've actually been able to watch in practice since the Chad Morris era. Because when Felipe Franks was here in 2020, there was no open practice. There wasn't even spring practice. So, we didn't get to watch that. And every other year it's been KJ. So this is the first time truly since 2019 that us in the media and everybody have been able to watch a practice that didn't have KJ Jefferson as the starting quarterback. So that's a fascinating thing. Seeing Eric Mateos, new offensive line coach, and how he was working with Sam Pittman. All of the new and mystery and curiosity was surrounding the offense. But on the defense, it's not that it looked bad, because it didn't. But it was almost like people felt if the Arkansas football team is going to be successful, it's going to be based simply on the Razorback offense. And I think there's some truth to that. But it is unfortunate for Arkansas that the past two seasons, in 2022 and 2023, 2022 was better than 2023, only slightly. But it's a shame that both of those seasons were defined and should have been so much better. But you had one side of the ball that failed. And that's what's frustrating. In 2022, you had an offense that was scoring around 5 touchdowns a game on average. You were averaging close to around 35 points a game. You had KJ Jefferson, who was killing it when the stats. Rocket Sanders, who rushed for 1,400 yards. The offense was as good as anybody. But you had a defense that was dead last in the country when it came to pass coverage, and you could not stop a nosebleed. That's why you went 7-6. And then last year, your defense improved dramatically. It wasn't the best in the country, but it was a dramatic improvement. You did a great job against other teams. Teams like Bama, teams like Ole Miss, teams like LSU. You did your job. You did enough. Shoot, even against Mississippi State, I hate to bring it up, you held them to 1 touchdown at home. And I don't care who you are, folks. If you hold any team to 1 touchdown, you win that game. The defense was not the problem last year. It was the offense. That's what was so frustrating and so weird about the past 2 seasons, is that you literally was like this, and then you can't go like this. You need to get to this. You need to get to this. You need to be able to just have both sides of the ball on the same page where they help each other out. I'm not expecting the offense or the defense to be top 3 in the SEC. That'd be nice, but I'm not going to predict it. I'm not going to expect it. However, what I do expect is some sort of improvement and competency and just being able to go out. And when you go up against a team that has a bad defense statistically and everyone's scoring on them, dadgummit, go out there and you score on them too. If you're going up against an offense that can't score, can't run the ball, they're close to dead last in most of the statistical categories, then dadgummit, they shouldn't be able to do anything against you. I get sick and tired of average quarterbacks playing Arkansas at home, and what happens? Poof, they blow up and they look like Heisman Trophy winners whenever they come into Fayetteville. It's nauseating, it's sickening, and it's tiring. I believe that there will be vast improvements on this team this year. I believe that. And I believe most of the improvements are going to be on the offensive side because it's hard to get worse than what we had to witness last year. And I still have faith in Bobby Petrino that he is going to get it done. However, that being said, the defense cannot be forgotten. It cannot be overlooked. I think you have pieces on this defense that is going to do some nice things. I think that the linebacker position, without question, is the biggest question mark. You lost everybody. Some of them you didn't need to or have to lose, but you lost everybody. You got Xavion Sorey from Georgia, who's all right, but it's still a new young player. And you have Brad Spence, who played a little bit last year. He looks the part, but that's about it. Not much else in the depth side of things, too. So you're going to have to make sure that you do just enough defensively to keep the teams in, to keep your team in the game. Offense is going to score. I think that's not going to be a question. I think Arkansas offense is going to score. I think they're going to score points across the board. I think they're going to really blow it up and do some great things. I'm just hoping that it doesn't come at the frustrations of so many Razorback fans where one game's different than the other. One game, your offense looks like it's elite. The next, it looks very suspect. There's vice versa with the defense. Consistency is all I'm asking. I know it's asking a lot, but consistency is all I'm asking for. And with this defense, and especially when you see those two guys that are rated very high on the defensive edge rushers in the SEC, it's hard to think of any excuses as to why Arkansas won't be an improved team this year. 10 wins? Nah. But can they make a bowl game? Can they win 7? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And I also think that is a must for Sam Pittman and this football team in the 2024 season.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
All Natty, all the time. Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
All right, Razorback fans, it is time for your Arkansas update presented by Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners and insurance agency, securing what matters the most. And a few things that have been going on. We mentioned yesterday how Hagen Smith had been named a finalist for the Golden Spikes Award, which is essentially the Heisman Trophy for the baseball side of things. Would love for him to get it, but not sure if he will. But he also got another honor as he's been named a finalist for the Dick Hauser Trophy, which is presented annually by the National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association as the top player in college baseball. So it may not be the Golden Spikes, but still a huge honor if Hagen Smith was able to take care of business and win that one. We know Hagen Smith has been one of the greatest pitchers that Arkansas has seen in a season. And I know we talked a lot about the greatness that he did have. And, of course, people are going to hopefully not remember the ending of his career, but just overall, when we talked to Tyler Spoon yesterday, I think he put it out just nicely of what some of the greatest things that will be from him on that, too. So congratulations to him, and hopefully he ends up coming away with one of those rewards. Also, in other news, DJ Wagner has officially been named a Razorback. He's officially signed with Arkansas. Now, we all know that he was going to be a Razorback, but there's something special about whenever they actually sign on the dotted line and become actual Razorbacks. And so that way we don't have to worry about why are they not signed? Why have they not announced it? Why have they not put it on the website? Why is he not on the roster? Well, no longer. He is official. He was named to the SEC All-Freshman team last season when he played at Kentucky. He was also a 3-time SEC Freshman of the Week honoree, averaged 9.9 points, ranked 7th in the SEC in assist and turnover ratio, and 12th in assists per game. What's so funny about this is this was a player that Kentucky fans, when Razorback fans got excited, Kentucky fans were like, no big deal, whatever, he's not that good, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I think that's pretty decent. I think he's a pretty good player, and I think he's going to be big for Arkansas this year. So, good to know that he is officially named a Razorback. That's very important. Also, you can renew your tickets for Razorback basketball. We know the John Calipari era is upon us, as well as women's basketball with Mike Nabors, and right now is the time to get your season ticket holders where you can begin renewing your seats for the upcoming season by logging into the Razorback Ticket Center account. The deadline to renew season tickets is Friday, June 28th. So if you have season tickets already, you got to renew them before then, or else they're going to be given away. Somehow, some way, and for some reason, I feel like there won't be a problem selling and renewing season tickets for Razorback basketball. In fact, I think it'll probably be breaking records. And I would even go out on a limb, folks. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'll go out on a limb and say that I believe Arkansas will have the highest attended, most consistent attended games at Bud Walton, non-conference, conference play, everything, either ever or that they've had in a very long time. I think it'd probably be hard to beat 1993-94 season when they were first year Bud Walton and you couldn't watch all the games and it was a very big deal because they were the number 1 team in the country for the majority of the season. But I have a hankering that it's probably going to be just as good, if not better. So if you are somebody that had those tickets and you want to renew them, be sure to do so. And that is your Arkansas update presented by Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. I also wanted to bring up something. I always find funny things on social media sometimes, especially when it's dealing with Razorbacks and some of the things that they end up putting together for NIL deals. Some of them are pretty normal, like they have a burger joint or a restaurant or a dry cleaner, whatever it is. But this one is great because of the uniqueness of it. Y'all know Hunter Dietz. At least if you don't, you should. Hunter Dietz is a pitcher for Arkansas. I didn't get to really see him this year, but from all intents and purposes, he's dealing with injury. He is the next Hagen Smith. Like, he is top level, the expectation potential through the roof for Hunter Dietz. And so everyone's hoping that we get a chance to see him. Well, he signed an NIL deal, and it might be one of the best ones ever. Check this out. I mean, how can you do anything better than that when it comes to a deal? He even said this. He said, pumped to work with Dietz and Watson, which Dietz and Watson apparently is all about the meats and cheeses, to bring the best meats to the baseball field and to Razorback Nation. Hashtag, this is the best part, Dietz Nutz. Yep. I respect him for that. Even Dietz and Watson said, a match made in hot dog heaven. We're pumped to announce our partnership with college pitcher Hunter Dietz. Stay tuned for some fire content with our new favorite southpaw. So love that. Love the NIL deals, especially goes to baseball players, because any player that is on a team that maybe not have the highest revenue generating or doesn't have the opportunities that NIL brings for football or basketball players. So kudos to him. But the fact that it's this just makes me so happy. And applaud him for that, Dietz Nutz. That's the hashtag. That's what we're going to have to talk about. That's what we're going to have to deal with. I'm for it. I'm for it. And, that's something that people don't really think about when it comes to NIL. Like, if you have a really intriguing last name or, intriguing name in general that matches up with some sort of company or whatnot, people are going to go into that and be like, okay, yeah, we need to do this NIL thing because you got that name that's kind of unique and it matches with us. So it'd be an easy fit. So when they hear Hunter Dietz, they may think of Dietz and Watson cheeses and meats. I don't know how much it's for, but it's great. Hashtag Dietz Nutz. Can't hate on him for that. Can't hate on him for that. I'm always, again, fan of NIL deals and the unique, fun NIL deals and deals to players that need them the most. And again, baseball players definitely need them. But anytime you get national corporate to go along with it too, that's always really big. So really appreciate that. And hopefully there'll be some more fun to be had for those things as well. I want to tell you, folks, about our great law firm that we have partnered with here at Natty State Sports. And it is L Jennings Law. Just like in sports, preparation is key. And at L Jennings Law, they understand that more than anybody, specializing in estate planning, including crucial documents like trusts and wills, power of attorney, and healthcare directives. They ensure that your family is protected and provided for no matter what comes your way. Don't leave the future for chance. Contact L Jennings Law today to create a plan that's as comprehensive as it is comforting. Experts in what they do, it is L Jennings Law. You can contact them today at 501-501-WILL. And you can also check out their website at ljenningslaw.com. Again, call them at 501-501-WILL. That's 501-501-9455. Or visit their website at ljenningslaw.com.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
All Natty, all the time. Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
All right, Razorback fans, it is the summertime, and this is something I've actually wanted to do for quite some time, and I'm sure it's going to go really, really well. But considering that things kind of slowed down, and Arkansas is coming off of one of their worst sports seasons of at least my lifetime, I feel like it's a great opportunity to talk about hatred and the reasons why I hate so many teams, and specifically SEC teams. So what we're going to do, I don't know if we'll do every SEC team, because how could you hate Vanderbilt? But it's going to be something that should be very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of fans from other fan bases will probably totally be rational about and agree with. And it's not even just the reasons as to why I hate these particular teams. It's just Razorback fans in general, which is why I posted the question on Twitter, why do you hate this team? And we're going to start things off with Ole Miss. Ole Miss, the Ole Miss Rebels. Why I hate the Ole Miss Rebels. Well, let me count the ways. So the thing about Ole Miss is that for at least the time that I've been alive, there's been a lot of similarities or maybe some comparisons that people have made between the two schools. A lot of times, especially in the 90s and even the 2000s, Arkansas was ahead in football, at least, and basketball and baseball. Basically ahead of the Ole Miss in every regard. Well, it started to come around the other direction, which we'll talk about in a second. But one of the reasons why I hate Ole Miss is because of the fact that they had a football stretch with Hugh Freeze there, who was really good at recruiting. I wonder why, because they cheated their hides off, where they come from a 6-6 season, and suddenly they have like the number one recruiting class in the country. They got like 3 of the top 4 recruits out of the country, and they were getting guys from like Illinois and from Texas and places that they didn't exactly have a hotbed. And they did all of that with the subtlety of a baboon, because everybody knew that they were cheating. And, you know, as we see today, cheating is normal and it's perfectly legal now. But at the time, they went all in on that. I almost respect them for it. But the reason I hate them for it is because with all that cheating that they did, they still did not win the SEC West. Not once. In fact, now that we're no longer in divisions, since the SEC West was a thing when Arkansas joined in 1992, and even when Texas A&M joined in, I guess, was that 2014, 13, something like that? Doesn't matter. Ole Miss and Texas A&M were the only 2 teams to never play in the SEC title game. Arkansas played in it 3 times. Mississippi State played in it once, thanks to Arkansas. But Ole Miss never did. So with all that cheating that they did, with all of that, those great players that they brought in, those draft picks and everything, they still could not win the SEC West. And I'm sorry, I can't respect a team and take them seriously, or a program and take them seriously, if you have all that talent, cheating all that time, and you got nothing to show for it. I get it. You had some good bowl wins and you had some 9-win seasons and everything. That's awesome. But the fact is that you still didn't beat Arkansas during that stretch for some reason. And Arkansas wasn't even that good. That's one of the reasons why. We're going to kind of go through these and bounce them around. The other reason I hate Ole Miss is because they won a College World Series before Arkansas. I hate that. That really bothers me, because Ole Miss is a team that under Mike Bianco, or Bianco, or however you say his name, he was basically about to get fired in 2022, the year that they won the College World Series. Ole Miss that season went 14-16 in SEC play. They barely made it into the postseason, and they just got hot at the right time and won a College World Series. And frankly, I don't think that they deserved it. They're not a program that deserved it. With the amount of TikToks that they were doing and the amount of antics that they were doing on the field, off the field, all of that stuff, it really bothers me that they won a College World Series title. And the thing is since that point in time, they have been pretty irrelevant. And so that just kind of sums up Ole Miss baseball, these random runs that they go on. But the most of the time, they're pretty average to below average, not very good. And it just rubs me so wrong. I hate it so much. Somebody that has, strived, and so many other great coaches that have had so many opportunities to win a College World Series title, but didn't. But yet Ole Miss did that year when they weren't even that good. That just boils my nuggets, and it really pisses me off, and I really hate them for that. Another reason why, and speaking of baseball, is because they have a guy who was caught on camera while playing Arkansas, mind you, during the Super Regionals of 2019, not only picking his nose, but taking said booger and eating it.
Oh, he's picking the nose. Did he just eat that booger?
Yes, that was a thing. And yes, he did that. You can't have that. I'm sorry. I don't care. Listen, we're all on camera. I'm on camera. Sometimes when you're at games, you don't realize you're on camera, and you may do funny things. Maybe you're eating nachos a little too heavily and you get it all over yourself, or maybe the ice cream, or maybe you're trying to hit on the girl next to you that has zero interest in what you have to say. Things happen, things change, but there's never an excuse to ever, even if you're on camera or off camera, to pick your nose and then eat it. Why? Why? I will never understand why this is a thing. I will never understand why people think that this is okay and why it's acceptable. And especially in that moment, I'm like, man, that's a tough look. That's a tough look. And I just can't take it seriously. If I had anybody in my life that I'm around that I knew was picking their nose and eating their boogers. If it was my wife, I'd have to divorce her. If it was my friend, I'd have to cut him off. And if it was one of my players for my favorite team, I'd have to disown him. It's that serious. It's truly that serious. Another reason why I hate Ole Miss is because Houston Nutt was their head coach. We all know how I feel about Houston Nutt. I never liked Houston Nutt. Houston Nutt was somebody that I get. He had his times and his moments, and a lot of you like him, and that's okay. But I was not a fan because I felt like they constantly underachieved under Nutt. They would win games that they weren't supposed to, but lose games that they were supposed to win. And they always fell short of the expectations. Only the years that Arkansas was picked to finish last were the years that they finally stepped up and won big. But then the year that the expectation was put on them, they always fell short. That, to me, really symbolized what Houston Nutt was all about. But it made it a lot worse when Arkansas decided, or whoever, depends on which side you're on of the argument, that Houston Nutt didn't need to be the coach anymore. They needed to move on from Houston Nutt. And after 10 seasons, felt like it was a thing that they could mutually part ways. But we start with the stupidest part of it, the golden handcuffs, which John White at the time still will never forgive him for many of the things that he did. But this was one of the worst things. And it sounds so funny now because of the amount of money. It seems like such a low number. But if Arkansas was to fire Houston Nutt, they were going to owe him around $3.5 million. If he was to leave Arkansas, he would owe the university $3.5 million. So what did they do? What in the greatest of brain cells did they do? They let Houston Nutt resign from Arkansas, but paid him as if he was fired. So he got to resign. He didn't get fired. He got to resign. But John White said, we're giving him the golden handcuffs and still paying him $3.5 million. And on top of that, the next day, he goes to a division rival in Ole Miss. Brilliant working right there. I mean, that's why John White is such a well-known, well-respected person when it comes to athletic decisions. Moronic. Luckily for Arkansas, they hired a premier coach in Bobby Petrino, and it ended up working out at least in the 4 years he was there. But while Houston Nutt was there, he had a lot of moments. And he took Ed Orgeron's players who he had recruited and won 9 games back-to-back years in back-to-back Cotton Bowls. In fact, it was one of the things that he talked about. It's been 50 years since they've done so.
But I just want to remind, our fans of this, number one. It was just 50 years. It's been 50 years since you won back-to-back January 1 games. 50. I remember the day we got here, guys. I didn't see any life. I didn't see any. I saw a lot of no hope. And I don't want that to come back on our guys now. And that's what I'm feeling a little bit. And I don't want that. And it's easy to dwell on the negative. It's easy to set up on the 50-yard line. It's easy to sit there and say, bad, embarrassing. And I was the first one to say it after Saturday. Man, I don't want to do that. If you think you're hurt, you got to just look at the tip of my incy-bincy little finger and then go all the way up through my body. I'm sick to my stomach. But look at this, though. You think Florida's happy? You think Georgia's happy? There's going to be a year in this league, the greatest league in America. There's going to be a year where things don't go just right. But it ain't all about gloom and doom. And that's what's difficult about the world that we're in now, because I got 18 and 19-year-olds that actually believe everything that comes outside these walls.
So after those back-to-back Cotton Bowls after 50 years, Ole Miss went back to irrelevancy where they went 4-8 and then 2-10, and then they fired Houston Nutt. It was almost like exactly how it started with Arkansas when he took over Danny Ford's players. He could take other people's talent, but he couldn't make it continue to work. And the fact that he wanted to beat Arkansas every single time, gave it his all. That was the only game he really cared about, it seemed like. Arkansas went 2-2 against him. 2 wins when Arkansas was the premier team and better than them. And then 2 years, of course, when Ole Miss was the better team. But I'm still also never going to forget this particular play against Ole Miss in 2008. I'm sure most of you probably remember it. This was not offensive pass interference. That's what it was called. That game was at home. Arkansas was down by 2 points. Hunter Crawford made this catch. They're in field goal range. Shea Haddock, the kicker at the time, would have made the kick to win the game. They called offensive pass interference on this call. Another reason to hate Ole Miss. So, hate Houston Nutt. Will always hate Houston Nutt, and the fact that he was the head coach there really was upsetting. Another reason why I hate Ole Miss. They can't make up their minds on what their mascot is going to be. They've been the Rebels, right? They were the Rebels. Great. They're still the Rebels. Great. But there was a time when they decided that they needed to change their mascot because they had Colonel Reb as the official mascot. Colonel Reb was deemed a little bit offensive and did not want to be down there on the sidelines anymore, so they decided to move on from that. And they went through a process of trying to figure out who was going to be the next mascot and who was going to be voted on for the mascot after he was taken off the field. Well, in 2010, Ole Miss students voted to choose a new mascot, and they went to Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. Yeah, that guy. They decided that that's the one that they wanted to have on as their mascot. And it got such a huge drawing and huge showing. I actually would have respected Ole Miss because it's so absurd to get Admiral Akbar. If he ended up being the mascot, again, I'd respect it. But Lucasfilm has just said, you know what? We declined to give them the rights. So we appreciate it that in fact, Lucasfilm even said they're flattered that they are Star Wars fans at the University of Mississippi and considering electing Admiral Akbar as their mascot. The last time we checked with Admiral Akbar, he was leading the Rebel Alliance fleet on a critical mission, so it'll be difficult for him to show up to games. So what did they do? Okay, well, we'll go with the black bear. Yay. The Rebel black bear. Okay, so they have the black bear, and they're still the Rebels, but the black bear is the mascot. I still am trying to figure out why, and they try to figure out what it would be called. They had 11 candidates for different things that were going on, but eventually they fell on the black bear. Okay, fine. You're the Rebel Black Bears, whatever. But it's not the case anymore, because then they moved on from the black bear and had Tony the Land Shark, from Marshall Henderson doing the Land Shark, and everybody was about the Land Shark and the Land Shark. And so it got replaced in the fall of 2018. And it was Tony the Land Shark. And he looked ridiculous. He looked absurd. I mean, come on. What is this? Like, what are we doing here? And everyone was like, okay, the Land Shark. Hey, that's cooler than a bear anyways, right? Yeah, it's been awesome, right? Okay, cool. Well, here's the thing. Since May of 2021, Tony the Land Shark has not been seen on the sidelines at athletic events, nor posted to the mascot's official Twitter or X account, even though he's not been officially removed as the school mascot. So what in the crap are you, Ole Miss? You're the Rebels. Okay, stick with that. But then you chose the black bear. We don't want that after years. But then you did Tony the Land Shark. Okay, go with Tony the Land Shark. But then you just have Tony the Land Shark disappear. And he's not around. What are you doing? Who are you? Just make up your mind and stick with it. How can anybody respect an SEC athletic program when they don't even know what their mascot is? When they can't make up their minds? When they're jumping around back and forth? I can't wait to see Gary the Giraffe be the next mascot, just running around, the Rebel Giraffe, and then it ends up going away sometime. And then you can do another voting process on it and find out something. But yeah, okay, so great. Yeah, can't figure out who your mascot is. How can we even respect you if that's the case? All right. Another reason why I hate Ole Miss is because of the fact that Katy Perry went there for College Game Day. Now, listen, College Game Day is a great experience. I mean, it's something that's just as integral when it comes to college football as anything. Granted, it's not the same luster as it once was, but still a very big deal. And so when Ole Miss was hosting Alabama in 2014, they had College Game Day there. They were a good team. Alabama was a good team, and they even beat Alabama and rushed the field. Very big moment for the Ole Miss Rebels. But here's the deal. Ole Miss has nobody famous enough, apparently, without being the last name of Manning, that the celebrity picker, they couldn't figure it out. They didn't have any former presidents. They didn't have any actors. They didn't have any celebrities. They didn't have anybody. So what did they do? Well, Katy Perry's manager is from Mississippi and an Ole Miss fan, so let's get Katy Perry. So Katy Perry shows up. Okay, Katy Perry's a big-time celebrity. Great. And it's an iconic moment. They're holding the corn dogs and being weird. Sweet. I love Katy Perry. But the thing is when you're Ole Miss and you're a school in the SEC, especially that you're supposed to have for College Game Day, some big-time celebrity and whatnot, you need to do better than that. You need to have somebody on task. I mean, say what you want about Arkansas, but off the top of my head, I can think of a lot of different celebrities that would make for great, big-time, well-known College Game Day pickers. I think Jerry Jones would be a great one. How about John Daly? How about former President Clinton? Say what you want about his politics, but everybody knows who Bill Clinton is. Just keep him away from everybody else that may be an intern. But the point is that they could at least figure it out. The only people that Ole Miss have apparently is Manning. And if you don't have a Manning, then you have to figure out some sort of connection to somebody that may or may not be somebody like Katy Perry. Yeah, great. Celebrity pickers are supposed to be unique to the school. It needs to stick that way. And Ole Miss kind of bucked the trend a little bit because they could not find anybody else. So, well, let's just try to force the issue with Katy Perry because her manager happens to be from Mississippi and an Ole Miss fan. And finally, the reason, or one of the biggest reasons at least, why I hate Ole Miss, the Grove. Now, the Grove has been coined as the holy grail of tailgating sites. And in all of college football, it's the greatest of tailgate atmospheres. It has something you have to experience. Okay, let's set the record straight by saying first, yes, the Grove is a cool spot for tailgating. I'm going to admit it. It's nice. It's not bad. It's not crappy. It's fine. It's good. But to be able to go through the whole motions of saying that we are the best tailgate experience of all time. Why? Well, we have tents. Sweet. What else? Well, we have chandeliers that we hang. And all of our food, we serve hors d'oeuvres, which is like chicken wings, but we put it on fine china and like dishware. Folks, I don't want to go to a tailgate where I'm afraid to get the plates because they may break. That's not a tailgate. That's a house of a crazy person. Like if I went over to somebody's house, like, hey, I'm having dinner over here, and they served me a plate of chicken fingers on fine china, I'd be like, are you okay? Are you all there? But that's apparently what Ole Miss does. Great, grand, wonderful, sweet. So that's what makes you unique. It's like, oh, they're so friendly and welcoming. Oh, come on and tailgate. No, I don't trust people like that. Pretty sure it's what is it? The Children of the Corn? That's kind of what the vibes it gives me. I don't know. Or maybe from Hansel and Gretel. It's like, come on in. We'll feed you crumbs. And you come on in. And then it's like you get in there and you don't know what's going to happen. I'm always a little weary of any SEC school that's welcoming to opposing teams' fans. I'm weary of that. You know, maybe it's just because I've been in this SEC thing for a while and I know kind of what gets said about other fans and other fan bases. If you're really nice to me, like overly nice, there's one thing you just say, hey, what's up? But if you're overly nice to me, like when we went over to BYU, great people, but weird, extremely weird. So that's not the experience that I want to have. And without question, the biggest problem with the Grove, okay, is this rule right here. I'm going to read it verbatim for all of you. This is from their website. All adult beverages must be in a closed cooler and not seen. Alcohol should be in a locked cooler if left unattended. UPD is subject to having complete authority to confiscate any container seen or left unattended. We suggest having a locked cooler and a disposable cup for transfer of your drinks. You cannot be the best party, the best tailgate, when you have police officers walking around, and if they see you holding a beer with a beer can with a beer in it, they take it from you. I'm sorry. You can't say that you're the greatest tailgate and the greatest party of all time. I know for a fact and experience from people that I used to work with down in Little Rock at 103.7 The Buzz that they were simply not drinking beer, but had a case of beer and were bringing it to a tailgate. What happens? The police stopped them, took it, and poured out the beers right in front of them, saying this can't happen. How can you say you're the greatest tailgate, the greatest party, the best of times when you're that strict where you have to have your beer in a solo cup? You can't walk around with a beer can. What's the difference? There is none, other than just saying that for rule's sake. If it's a campus rule, okay, still a stupid rule. Say what you want about Arkansas tailgating. I know it's not the best. I know it's not known for that. I know it, and I appreciate it, I embrace it, and I respect it. But that being said, they at least allow you to walk around with a beer can. You cannot say you're the greatest tailgate and the greatest party if you cannot not walk around with a beer can. All right? Plain and simple, clear as crystal. That's it. So spare me with the Grove being the greatest thing of all time when you can't do something as simple as that. What kind of party would you want to go to where it's like, hey, it's going to be a rager. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. Oh, man, can't wait. But just know, dude. Just know, dude. You cannot have your beer can. You got to pour it in a cup. Why? Because that's the rule. But why? What will they do? They'll take your, that's things. They won't even ask you to put it in a cup. They'll just take it and pour it out in front of you just to be a jerk. Man, party of the year. Watch out. It's like, forget the Playboy Mansion. The Grove is where it's at, where the crazy things go. So there's just a few things. And I'm sure Ole Miss fans are going to be arguing in the comments about how incredibly wrong I am and how stupid I am and how I don't get it and I probably got stuff wrong. I don't care. That's why I hate you. But I will read some other reasons why I hate you from, at least ones I agree with, from people who were on Twitter that were talking about it. So there were people that were saying that Houston Nutt, Marshall Henderson, Lane Kiffin, baseball shenanigans, and booger eaters. That comes from Mark Freeman. I agree. There's also Duval Jags, pride always. All right, he says, because we are supposed to. It's Oxford. It's some really cringe dress up. They have a baseball natty, and then poof, gone again. The question should be like, why do we like Ole Miss? Because I don't think of a single reason why. Fair enough. Dustin even says, as a drumline member, when we were there a few years ago, we had to have the police escort us out of the stadium after 51-52 loss because their fans were throwing glass bottles and other things at us. It was pretty ridiculous. But wait, I thought glass bottles were not allowed. How did they get those in? Man, crazy idea. Wild. Absolutely wild. John says somehow they are more entitled than Tennessee, and despite winning, far less. That's really a great thing. And I'll also agree with this too, and I'll give credit where credit is due. This comes from Matt. I hate Ole Miss because of pure jealousy. They have never they should have never gotten their football and basketball coach situation better than ours, not from where we were and they were. And I can at least respect that, because I'll say this about Ole Miss, as much as I've hated on y'all, you do have a great coach in Lane Kiffin in football side of things. And I think Chris Beard is a phenomenal basketball coach, too. Now, we'll see if any of it plays out. I think Lane Kiffin is going to be great, but at some point in time, keeps wondering if he's ever going to leave. He hasn't yet. I don't know how many opportunities he's had, but he hasn't left yet. And Chris Beard, I don't think he's going to be at Ole Miss for the long term, but maybe he is. Maybe you guys still find a way. So as much as I've hated on you, I at least respect you for getting some controversial coaches, hiring them, and breeding the success of them, because I feel like that's what more programs should do. But still, I really, really hate you, and I can't wait to beat you once again. Fair enough? Fair enough. Well, speaking of something that you hate, because I know I hate them too, how about pests? We all hate pests. Pests are the worst, and especially around this time of year. And luckily for all of you, we have a great deal because we have partnered with the great Hopper Termite and Pest Control. Here in the state of Arkansas, we know that it's all about being local, but it's also about getting a great response from things that you need that are very important. And termite and pests are extremely important. So I know you may hate Ole Miss fans. I don't think Hopper will be able to take care of them, but you can at least make sure that they take care of your termite and pest problem. And you're talking about critters like rodents, roaches, and mosquitoes. They can destroy your property and create a lot of health problems for your family. But with Hopper Termite and Pest Control, they have a tried and true solution. Their program eradicates many common pests and works for many weeks before it needs to be reapplied, and it lasts even throughout the rainy season. So discover the secret to your pest-free yard and enjoy $50 off your very first treatment when you sign up. All you got to do is use code NATTY, N-A-T-T-Y. Just use promo code NATTY, and you get $50 off your first treatment with Hopper Termite and Pest. You can call them today at 479-750-4070. You can also check out their website at www.callhopper.com. That's callhopper.com. They're great people over there. They're great Razorback fans, and they're going to make sure that the pest and the termites and all of the things that end up bothering you at your home and trying to protect your family, they're going to make sure that they take care of it for you. So call them today. It is Hopper Termite and Pest. Callhopper.com. And also 479-750-4070.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
All Natty, all the time. Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
All right, as we head into the final segment, hey, y'all see this here on the John Nabors Show. Just know it's brought to you by Superior Contracting and Development, licensed residential and commercial contractors that specialize in all aspects of home rebuilding and remodeling. They handle everything from fencing to drainage and additions to remodeling of your existing structure, all the way to land development and ground-up construction. We know a lot of people were impacted by the storms that transpired in Arkansas just over a week ago. And insurance companies are required to restore homes to their pre-storm condition. Well, luckily with Superior, they're seasoned in working with all insurance companies and helping homeowners get everything that they should be getting out of their insurance claim. So do business with them. And not just in Northwest Arkansas that this happened. It's happened in Oklahoma. It's happened in Texas. There's storms across the region, and Superior Contracting and Development can help you out. And if you just go to their website at superiorcontractingar.com, you can see all the great things that they can be able to offer you and provide for you. You can also call them today at 501-453-3053. That's 501-453-3053 for all things to help you out with your interior and exterior construction, remodeling, everything. Make sure it's Superior Contracting and Development here out of Arkansas. Okay, hey, y'all see this segment. All right, I'm going to get into some things that I'm sure none of you are going to care about, but I'm going to get into it. Is anybody else sick of the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark thing that's happening? Like, I know that it's slow, and I have no problem with the side of things to where women's basketball has been getting a lot of pub and a lot of viewership records side and all that. But the nonsense of the feuding and the cheap shot, I'm just like, what is happening? What is happening? Why can't it just be that these two players are really good players and they play against each other and it always is a big deal? And like, why does it always have to turn into like media members hating and turning? It's just so weird. So, the latest thing was that Angel Reese said the Chicago Sky player said they were harassed getting off the bus. But the video that actually came out was simply a guy just filming. In fact, this is what he was doing. It's like they're just asking if they had a chance to reach out to Caitlin, and this guy's blocking. I mean, that's apparently all that happened. So it turned into this whole ordeal about harassment and all this stuff about what happened. And then you got Joy Taylor, who was talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark in this feud. And of course, Angel Reese was saying about, it's not just about one player. It's about me. I'm getting credit for this too. And she says, we're not talking about Caitlin Clark before Angel Reese walked up to her and did this. And she's like, that is not my opinion. I lived it. I watched it. It was recorded, was broadcasted live. We were not talking about Caitlin Clark before that moment. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why is this happening? This seems like this is just more of tearing the entire sport apart and just trying to make mountains out of molehills. Like, I'm sorry. I was hearing about Caitlin Clark before this, and I heard about Angel Reese before this. I don't understand. That's just, I guess, how media is. But anyways, I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. And the fact that there are grown people like talking about this and trying to pin each other, then the trash talk and the cheap shot, it's just nonsense and it's weird. It's very strange. So anyways, that was wild. But also, how about this? Bullying works, apparently. I like how this Barstool put it this way, because Jeff Passan believes that fans on social media played a big part in the exit of Angel Hernandez. You think? I'm glad. I hope so. Listen, bullying, okay, that's one thing. But the deal is that somebody like Angel Hernandez, I'm not a baseball guy, but he is known for being terrible. Terrible. Like, just watch the highlights and the clips, or I should say the lowlights, of all the calls that he's made that have been awful. And it's not just been one or two. Because listen, every umpire is going to get it wrong sometimes. I mean, it's just happened. It's part of baseball. But I have never seen a more consistent, terrible umpire or any official in any major pro sport, mind you, worse than him. I get it if it's high school. I even maybe can kind of understand if it's college. But you're talking about Major League Baseball, the highest level of baseball. And if you have an umpire that's this terrible, keeps getting suspended or whatever for having terrible takes and terrible games, and he still gets jobs, it's stupid, it's terrible. And so, yeah, whatever it takes, social media needed to get out of that. So glad that it happened. Delonte West, remember him, former NBA player, falling on some hard times. And he got arrested again. And it's just really a sad story for him. This is him now. That's terrible, man. He was served a warrant in violation of conditions of release and charged with resisting arrest. He was homeless for a while. And it's just sad for many reasons. Like, I mean, we're all adults, most of us, and things happen in our lives, and we try to get through them and all that. But this is just hopefully a really good reminder how important it is to, no matter what you do, no matter what it is, like, always make sure that you take care of, you're smart and level-headed and minded in your decisions. Delonte West is somebody that played in the NBA and made a lot of money. A lot more money than I did, and I will probably. A lot more money than all of us. But going down certain paths, making bad decisions, end up putting you in a bad way. And it's sad. It's sad for anybody that goes down that role. So it's always just sometimes a painful reminder, but a good reminder to always keep your stuff together. Keep your choices together and make sure you do things the right way, because it's just sad to see how far he has fallen. And, hopefully he gets back on his feet. I know he's had attempts to try, but it's really sad. And something else that's sad, but I'm going to be more lighthearted, is the fact that the NBA is nearing a $76 billion TV deal with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon, which means that life without the inside the NBA is now very real. Now, I know a lot of you don't watch the NBA. That's fine. I watch the NBA, big games, playoffs, everything. I'll watch the finals. But it is pretty sad that, like, the best thing about the NBA, which I think most people who even don't watch the NBA love inside the NBA, was Chuck and Shaq and Kenny and Ernie. Like, that is as good of content and entertainment as anything. It's hilarious. It's raw. It's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously and enjoys it. It just has moments of arguments and debate, but also kind of making fun of the game, making fun of player outfits, making fun of each other. It's just fun. You actually feel like you're part of it. So I'm really sad. I'm really sad to see all these things happening, but it looks like it's going to be coming to an end. And it's just really unfortunate, because I really say what you want about the NBA, but I always, always, always really loved inside the NBA. It's just sad to see it looking like it's coming to an end. Speaking of coming to an end, appreciate each and every one of you who listened and watched to the John Nabors Show. Be sure to like and subscribe to Natty State Sports across the board on our social media. And also, folks, we're always looking for partners that we want to be able to partner up with and help you out with promoting your business. So if you have a business or anything that you would like to promote and you want to be a partner with Natty State Sports, we'd love to have you on board. All you got to do is email sales@nattystatesports.com. Sales@nattystatesports.com. Email them. We'll be able to take care of you right away, get you set up. We can make you a deal and get you going on being on our network and our platform, as well as helping promote your business. But appreciate each and every one of you for your support, and appreciate everybody that was part of the live stream yesterday when it came to tornado relief. That was awesome as well. Just remember, we're going to keep it rolling in the summertime and have some really good stuff. So same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.